Ben had been fascinated with fire his whole life. As a child, when they went camping, his dad would always make a fire, and he would sit for hours gazing at the flames. He would always try to pick up a piece of wood that had flames on one end and spin around with it. I guess this is where his fascination with fire twirling began. In his teenage years, he began to look up how to fire twirl. He had become quite adept at it, and he would practice in the garden. His mum didn't mind, it was quite a cheap hobby. She just had to buy the Kevlar for the ends of the sticks. He had saved up enough money to buy himself a proper fire stick. Ben always dreamed of entertaining people with his fire twirling. His passion for fire twirling was matched only by his fascination with flames. He spent hours perfecting his spins and tricks, mesmerized by the dance of fire. Despite his skills, Ben struggled with confidence and often doubted his abilities to entertain others. He dreamed of showcasing his talent, but always hesitated at the edge of the spotlight, wondering if he could captivate an audience. His inner turmoil reflected a deep struggle between his fiery passion and his self-doubt, making each performance a brave leap into the unknown. He would go to some of the meetups where they would practice fire twirling together. It was here that he met Stella. Stella was the complete opposite of him. She was full of confidence, but I guess opposites attract, and from the first moment they met, they clicked. Stella used the poise, but she was mostly involved in drumming, and the drumming and the fire twirling made a good mix. They often met up with other drummers and fire twirlers down at the beach. Many people, especially at night, came down to see them. Ben wasn't a big drinker, but normally he'd have a couple of drinks to relax and gain confidence before fire twirling on the beach. All the drummers were going down for a weekend of drumming at the beach, so Ben and Stella had booked a cabin at the caravan park. They had gone into the main town to buy some groceries and seen some stalls along the promenade. That's where they met Elise, the tarot reader. Her tent was set up beautifully, like a gypsy gazebo. Purple nets draped around the corners of the tent, flowing down at each corner, tied with black ribbon. It had a small round table in the corner with a large salt lamp, a round table in the center of the room adorned with a gold tablecloth, 2 candles, and a glass bowl. 2 decks of cards were on the table. Elise asked them to get the money out of the way first and put it in the glass bowl. Stella told Elise that she loved having her cards read, but Ben was a first-timer and a bit skeptical. Elise read their past, present, and future and then got them to choose from the antique deck. And the card Ben chose was the Magician. Elise complimented him on the excellent card. It demonstrated his skills, abilities, and available resources for success. The advice was to reach his greatest potential instead of holding back. Stella asked what the opposite meaning was, out of interest. Elise said that its opposite meaning would suggest exercising caution and avoiding minor stress-related issues, which piqued Stella's curiosity. Elsie also said that she didn't think that's what the reading indicated. Stella was pushing Ben to perform his fire twirling for the large crowd on the beach that evening, but Ben felt he should first get used to the strangers around him. So he told Stella that he would wait until the next night until he felt more comfortable. He had noticed one guy taking a particular interest in Stella. He could see how they interacted, and he started to worrying about Stella and this guy, but let it lie. Next night they headed down to the beach, and the guy he'd been concerned about had set up his drum right next to Stella. They were sharing drum beats and getting along very well, and Ben felt a bit like an outsider. So he went to the pub and bought himself some drinks and a couple of drinks for Stella. When he returned to the beach, he noticed that the guy had moved his drum even closer to Stella. Stella was chatting and admiring his drum. Ben started to feel jealous and angry. He took another few drinks. This wasn't usual for him. He could normally gauge his drinking. But he was chatting to another guy who was drinking as well, and they had been having a laugh, so he drank more, all the time keeping a watchful eye on Stella and her new friend. Ben was becoming overwhelmed with jealousy, but hey, he felt confident now. So when the drums picked up, he decided to do his fire twirling. He started to twirl closer and closer to the guy sitting next to Stella. The guy was getting angry, telling him to move further away, but the alcohol had kicked in and Ben felt as if he was in another world, twirling his fire stick. He was hot and stumbling, then moved further down the beach when disaster struck. Ben didn't normally wear a shirt when he was fire twirling, but he'd been so drunk that he'd forgotten to take his shirt off before he started. He unbuttoned it as he was so hot. Somehow, by some freak accident, his shirt had caught the flame. The drummers had been concentrating on their drumming and had not noticed for a while. Ben tried to take his shirt off, but just got tangled. He tried to scream out, but a dark cloud of smoke entered his mouth, choking him. The flames from his polyester shirt were skipping and dancing down his legs and up his arms. The guy noticed the fire and alerted Stella, saying, "What the hell is he doing there? That's a lot of flames." They all looked, stopped playing, and ran over to Ben. Ben lay on the beach in a smoldering ball. They quickly rolled him to the waves. The embers were out now. Stella placed her hand on his wrist and her ear to his mouth. She was sure he was still breathing. They immediately called for an ambulance. That night it was as if anything that could go wrong did go wrong. The ambulance had trouble finding them on the beach. Stella was hopeful but was contacted later that day and told that there had been complications and that Ben had died from his injuries. The next day, Stella saw a post from Ben on Facebook showing the tarot card he had chosen. She showed the post to her mom, who said she knew she had seen it too and that it was pretty freaky. Stella said that the visions of him lying there on the ground kept toying with her head. None of it made any sense. Ben had been twirling fire since he was a child. Her mom didn't know what to say, only that she needed to try to let it go and take it one day at a time. She suggested that Stella remove him from her Facebook account. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Shadows of the Tarot.